Excellent. Hello. It is very French to be late. Thank you, Shell, for pointing that out. I was just going to say, oh my God, I'm a minute late. I forgot to put the link in the bio for Instagram, and God forbid that our Instagram followers couldn't join us tonight. Not only am I being French and late, Shell, but you were first, so well done. Hello, Paul and Roz. Hello, Kay. Okay, so I am late for a good reason, and remind me next time I have a stupid idea of doing something that needs to be prepared at the last minute that I don't have a chef anymore, so I have to do it myself. But I have made myself œuf en merette, and it's getting cold anyway. Hello, Sharpie and Rod. How you doing? Lovely to see you. So Richard's going to make me an omelette in about 10, 15 minutes so that I can compare and contrast the brilliance of a beautiful Richard omelette with Pinot Noir compared to œuf en merette with Pinot Noir. But let's get some Pinot Noir in the glass first. We've got the 2021 Estate Pinot Noir, which we have tasted fairly recently, but we haven't tasted it with eggs before. So hello, Jeff and Sue. How you going? Now, I do have to apologise. I think that I confused some people by sending out the recipes on Friday. I have said to a couple of you, you do need to read my emails all the way to the end, at least skim them, because they do contain important stuff towards the end of them as well. Had a couple of phone calls saying, oh, we haven't got the recipes. But you had, hadn't you? Hopefully. Right. A glass of Pinot for me. Now, I've got two glasses, and I'll explain why in a little bit. And I'm not going to start eating egg yet because I want to taste the wine without egg first. And I have a good reason for that. And so if you've already got egg in front of you and you're tucking into your egg, hello, Nareem, how are you? How are all the dyes? And Shell, I forgot to say hello to Andrew. Hello, Andrew. Just because Shell does most of the typing doesn't mean that I don't know that doesn't mean that I haven't forgotten that you're there as well. I don't know what I'm saying. It's been a big week already. I think I need a glass of Pinot. Thank goodness for Drinks with Kate and Pinot. So if you've started eating your eggs, whether you're having omelette, if you're having œuf en merette, if you've just kind of thrown that all up in the air and decided to have a lovely cheese board and charcuterie, that's fine. But we are going to talk about the challenges and the pleasures of matching egg to Pinot Noir in particular, and where the idea came from. And we're going to do a real life experiment tonight to see whether we think it's the right thing to do or not the right thing to do. I certainly think that the œuf en merette recipe is quite unusual. I think that probably if you're going to make it, you need to have really, really good eggs, which we do here, freshly laid from Mum and Dad's chooks. You probably need really good beef stock as well, which I didn't have, and you probably need to use pretty good wine as well. I used Devil Ben Creek Pinot because I had a bottle to hand, but I think the better quality wine that you cook in something like this, the better the dish is going to taste. So anyway, we'll come back to that in a minute. Hopefully you guys are not sitting looking at yours getting cold. Let's have a quick taste of this Pinot, because there's nothing more disappointing than cold eggs. So I love the 2021 Estate Pinot Noir. It's got this beautiful red fruitedness. It's got red raspberries. It's got beautiful red cherries. Good work, Kay. I think that's a good idea. I would have used Estate Pinot Noir 2021 as well if I didn't have to open the bottle on screen. So hello, Cuddy. Justine Schofield's version of œuf en merette. Excellent. Have a little taste of the wine before you start eating the eggs. And if you've brought a tissue or a paper serviette or something to Drinks with Kate, that's a really good idea. No eggs, Alison. I'm sorry to hear that, but hopefully you've got wine. So beautiful red fruit. It's got this lovely spiciness to it, which I'm going to come back to because it's kind of eluding me a little bit at the moment. And I think if you're going to match a wine to eggs poached in red wine, good evening, Jeremy, then I think that a Pinot like this that's got a little bit of earthiness, a little bit of savouriness, but lots of red fruit, lovely tangy acidity is going to be a good match. You probably don't want anything that's too fruity, and you need something with a bit of structure. And Jeremy and I are going to attempt to talk a little bit about chemistry as well later on, if Jeremy can hang in there. And if he abandons me, I'm going to be completely stuffed. But anyway, Kay, I have almost fail on merit. Sadly, there's nothing worse than cold eggs. Get stuck into your eggs now, guys. So we've had a sip of the wine. We know the wine's good. Have a little bite of your eggs. And hopefully, if you've poached them well, and I've cut my egg at the wrong end, so I'm going to go in the other end. If you've cooked them well, then the egg yolk should still be quite drippy. There we go. That's what I was looking for. A drippy egg yolk. Now I'm going to hold it up, and then I'm going to shove it in my mouth really quickly so that I don't drip it all over the computer. But there we go. Drippy egg yolk. Yum. And you know what? That is actually a pretty tasty dish on its own. Does it work with Pinot Noir? So, first sip, it works really nicely with the Pinot Noir. And I did wear very red lipstick for a reason today, because I wanted you to see my lip marks on the glass. Now, that lip mark that you can see is not just lipstick, but that's egg yolk as well. And if you leave the egg yolk on the glass, because it's on your lips and it gets on the glass, then all of the rest of your wine is going to smell like egg, and it becomes less and less appealing. I'm very sensitive to this problem. I can't eat egg sandwiches with wine. I can't eat poached eggs with wine without doing this little trick. And this is a trick that my old boss and friend Michael Trembath taught me, and he does it for everything because he's a little bit more compulsive than me. But if you get your serviette and you wipe the egg yolk and the lipstick off the edge of the glass, and then you give your lips a little dab after you've eaten your egg, then you avoid spoiling the rest of the wine with the egg. So that's my first. There we go. I can smell the wine. I can't smell egg. And the reason that I brought my second glass was if I'd got egg on my glass and I couldn't get it off, I was going to put my wine into the fresh glass, because the fresh glass will be fine. Well, Kay, I think omellette's going to do the same thing, unless you cook it really. If you've got a bit of wet omelette in the middle, which is how I like it, then that's also going to be a problem. So egg is a problem. Oily fish is a problem. So salmon, sardines, anything that you get that kind of fishy oiliness on your lips. If the lips then go on the glass, then it gets stuck on the glass and the glass ends up smelling of that thing. It gets so bad for me that, here we go. Shell, it doesn't not work with my Indian style scrambled eggs with onion, green beans and paneer. Yum, accentuating the cloves. So yes, I think that eggs in general can work with wine. I think it's the residual fat of the egg yolk that is a little bit problematic. I'm going to have another go. That's really good. I think one of the things that makes that really good is, and this time I'm going to do that first. The flavours of not only the egg, but the meaty, winey, very buttery sauce. I put quite a lot of butter in the sauce. Bit of freshly chopped parsley. The bread that I put underneath it has been also fried in butter. So there's a lot of butteriness. There's some lovely, there's a bit of salt and pepper. I didn't actually put any, there was supposed to be some paprika or some spicy cayenne pepper, I think, was in the recipe. I didn't put that in. I just put pepper. And I think that the flavours work really, really well. The And that really surprises me because I've had Ephemerate in France and just thought it was the weirdest thing and really didn't work for me. So maybe it was just maybe at that restaurant they didn't do it very well. Mum's still not convinced. She's got one for her and Richard to heat up in the kitchen. I did all the egg poaching a little bit earlier this afternoon and made the sauce earlier. So just heated it all up just in time for, hi, Jill, we can see you. Wave. And the eggs are wonderful with the wine, right, Cuddy? I think you're right. I agree. And I'm really surprised and I'm really impressed. Peter, have some wine. And if you'd like some earth, you're very welcome to have some earth as well. Richard's now bringing me, John did a great job. Well done, John. Richard's now bringing me omelette. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, sure. It's getting a bit cold, but it's yummy. So Richard's now made me the most exquisite omelette. Look at that. Can you smell the caramelized butter? It's so good. So good. So the reason that I said omelette is that we've got egg cooked in a different way. It's still egg, salt, pepper, butter, and that's all that Dad will use in his omelette. Some of you might have chosen to put a little bit of cheese in your omelette or a little bit of mushroom or something like that. Dad's very much a Puritan when it comes to omelettes. It can only be egg and butter and salt and pepper. And I think that's pretty good. And the other trick with Dad's omelettes is that they're always gooey in the middle. So he gets them nice and fluffy and they're gooey in the middle. And that egg gooiness in the middle is delicious. It gives it a creaminess and a really lovely flavour. But again, it makes it difficult with your glass of wine. And I'm going to shove all of that in my mouth because I'm very greedy and it's just egg. So here we go. That's an even better way to eat eggs. And that's really delicious with the wine. It brings out more of the red fruit, a bit of meatiness, a bit of tanginess. It's really delicious. But omelettes, particularly when you shove a great big piece of omelette like I did just in your mouth, very easy to get butter and egg and stuff all over your lips and then get that all over the glass. And again, you can see, I don't know if you can see in the camera that there's quite a bit of splodgy lipstick on there. Peter and Karen just finished a house inspection, egg sauce rescued. We also had the mushrooms, gooey omelettes are the way to go. Excellent. The omelettes are pretty awesome. And I did, for those of you who had a chance to read my email on Friday, that excerpt from Elizabeth David's French Provincial Cookbook is an absolute piece of poetry about how to make the perfect omelette. So if you haven't read it yet, you should read it. If you haven't got that book, that cookbook on your shelves, then you really should buy Elizabeth David's French Provincial Cooking. It doesn't have any pictures in it. It's all words. It's quite verbose. It's got a lot of seemingly very simple recipes, but they always work. And she's really, so Elizabeth David traveled through France collecting, oh, hello, Craig. Yay, hi. The eggs initially work, but the sauce struggles after the initial egg. Yeah, I think the ephemerate, it's a really interesting combination of flavours. And I think it could be very, as I said before, it could be really easy to sort of muck up the sauce by using less good wine or less good. Although that said, I didn't have good stock. I used beef stock cube. It worked pretty good. Shell, a recipe book without pictures. I know. It's do get it. She paints word pictures. Elizabeth David is amazing, and it's a bit old fashioned. It's beautiful. It's actually it was one of the first cookbooks that my mother gave me as a grown up, and I took it with me when I went to live in France for 6 months. I lived in Lyon. I didn't have any money, but I could afford to buy the basics at the supermarket or at the market. And I cooked beautiful things out of the French Provincial Cookbook by Elizabeth David, and you can just read it at night instead of a novel. It is the most beautifully written book. I highly recommend it for anyone who has any interest in cooking, and her recipes are not difficult, and they're described in loving detail. Only Elizabeth David could write a page and a half on how to make an omelette. I gave you the majority of the Elizabeth David omelette essay, but it started on the page before and it finished the page after the one that I photographed and put in my email. It is rather awesome. Elizabeth David did not have a recipe for œuf en mourette in her book, though, French Provincial Cooking. So that's interesting. I think she probably thought that œuf en mourette was maybe not a great recipe as well, because she's got a whole chapter on eggs and didn't have that recipe in it. So pretty interesting, but a lovely cookbook. Here's Jill again. Hello, Jill. Hey, we're eating omelette now. And Elizabeth David always said that her favourite thing after a hard day at work is to come home, make an omelette, have a glass of red wine, and that was absolute perfection for her. So if it was perfection for Elizabeth David, it's worth trying. That's another big piece of omelette that I'm about to shove in my mouth. Hang on. It's quite easy to chew through omelette though too. Good work, Craig. You will not regret it. It's the most fabulous book. Cody, that's very interesting. Looked at a number of recipes for this. Although most said it came from Burgundy, they suggested Shiraz. Well, I think that's a mistake, personally. I think if you're going to make a Burgundian dish that asks for wine, then in Burgundy they're going to make it with Pinot Noir. And I think probably the reason that they suggested Shiraz, Cody, is partly because a lot of Australian Shiraz has got a bit more body to it than a lot of Australian Pinot Noir, and Shiraz is cheaper than Pinot Noir, and really cheap Pinot Noir is pretty awful. It's absolutely, Craig. And you need a Pinot Noir with a bit of structure. As I said, Devil Bean Creek Pinot Noir worked really well. Pete's wolfed down the last of my œuf en mourette. What did you think, Pete? It was pretty yummy, huh? Did you have it with the lime? Did you like the combination? It was all right. Yeah, I think it's a really yummy dish. The wine is delicious on its own. Yes, I agree, John. John says any of Elizabeth David's books are worth having. I totally agree. Peter and Karen are saying that they bought Aldi Pinot Noir and it was a shocker. I'm sorry about that. Craig used a Pinot Shiraz blend and it worked well. Well, I think Shiraz will give you a bit more pepperiness, a bit more weight in the sauce. And Cody, I think you said that you enjoyed your œuf en mourette. So perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps Shiraz is, and particularly probably cheap Shiraz that doesn't have too much oak and that's not too heavy, could work quite well. It might be interesting to try making it with a cheap little Shiraz Grenache blend as well. That might work too. But I think I've been converted now to eggs poached in red wine with Pinot Noir. I still think, and Mum has totally adopted the Elizabeth David. If they have had a big day and she can't be bothered cooking, one of the very few things that Dad makes really well is omelettes and bread and wine. What more do you need? And so when Mum doesn't feel like cooking and Mum and Dad just want some comfort food, Dad will make them both an omelette. They will have a lovely glass of Pinot Noir and they're very, very happy. The œuf en mourette is a much more fiddly, finicky dish. And I wonder if anyone, Hannah and Jackie, hello, Frenchish egg-based dish made a mushroom, bacon, leek cheese frittata. Well done. Well done. I was going to say, did anyone make the fancier version of the œuf en mourette that I sent you? Because I sent you two different recipes, and the second one had sort of a side of lardon, bacon lardon, and little onions and mushrooms cooked up to go on the side. And I think that would be rather lovely as well. And I think that would probably make it into a more complete dish to go with your wine than just the egg on the toast with the sauce, which was the Bec Bertolli child recipe. That's another cookbook that is worth having if you love French cooking. Has anyone here seen the movie? What's it called? It's called Julie and Julia, and it's about a young American aspiring food blogger who wrote, who decided she was having a bit of a bad time, and she decided she was going to make all of the recipes in The Joy of French Cooking, which is the book that I got, the first œuf au moret recipe. It's a lovely movie. Oh, okay, that's nice. Delvin Creek, yeah, absolutely. Oh gosh, everyone. It does have Stanley Tucci. He plays Julia's husband, and he's lovely. And Glenn Close, I think, plays Julia Child. And it flashes back and forward between them, and that's a lovely cookbook, and that's where I got that first recipe from. That was the sort of more pared down version, and then the other cookbook is one of Mum's favourites, and it's got lots of lovely pictures in it. It's very glossy and gorgeous. It's a bit of a coffee table book, but it's got some good recipe. Jeremy is saying that he's not a fan of the omelette and Pinot Noir combination. Love them both immensely, but not together. Alison, love Stan, not Meryl. Meryl Streep is Julia. Yeah, that's what I thought. She's good. She does a really good job, Alison. Although I have actors that I can't watch in anything, so I understand if Meryl Streep kind of, pushes your buttons. Jeremy, I understand what you're saying. Omelette and Pinot Noir combination it's not a very sophisticated wine and food match, and I think that often the omelette's lovely. And the Pinot Noir is delicious. But when you put them together, they do tend to fight a little bit. Now, Jeremy and I were talking this afternoon about this. I think when the egg in the middle of the slightly creamy, undercooked egg in the middle will have a tendency, it does do funny things with the tannin, Jeremy, and that's winemaker speaking. Did I say Glenn Close? I meant Meryl. Sorry, Alison. I'm not very good at Glenn Close is a sequel where Julie goes crazy with the kitchen knife. Thank you, Craig. I should stick to wine and not movie stars. Probably is the moral to that story. But Jeremy, as a winemaker, is very interested in the way that the protein in egg reacts with the tannin in the wine in your mouth. And he and I were talking about the fact that if the egg's a little bit creamy and not cooked fully solid, which is how I like my omelettes, Jeremy was saying that he thought that maybe you might still have some protein in the egg that's going to interact with the tannins in the wine. Dad wasn't sure whether that was going to be the case, but if you find that having a bite of omelette and then a sip of Pinot Noir makes the tannin in the wine feel funny and makes the omelette taste a bit weird, then that's a good reason for why you might not want it. So it's about what works for you rather than kind of rules that work for absolutely everyone. Mum's trying to get Peter to eat the other œuf au moret that she's plated up, and he's trying to leave. So we're having a little family thing over there. Justine's recipe had the lardons and confit of onion. That would be lovely, Cuddy, I think. That would have worked well. The onion brings a bit of sweetness and a bit of and also that nice kind of earthy umami flavour that onion confit can do so well. But eggs are weird because of the protein in them, and also because of the fat in the yolk. And if anyone's been on a stupid diet, you will know that all of the calories in an egg are in the yolk, and that's why the yolk tastes so good. And the white of the egg is just a bit of low calorie protein. You can use I'm talking about myself, Shell. Don't worry. How would I know otherwise, right? I've done lots of silly diets in my life. And I've got to say, the most depressing thing that I've ever eaten is an egg white omelette. It just, all the joy goes out of the world. They're also, the only thing worse than eating an egg white omelette is trying to cook an egg. Hi, Pete.
Hi.
Yee! Stealing your dog. See you later. The only thing worse than trying to eat an egg white omelette is trying to cook one, because they stick on the pan, and they're just, it's really really depressing. Anyway, winemakers will often use raw egg white that they froth up to pass through wine to take some of the tannins out of the wine. And so Jeremy's saying once the protein's heated, it shouldn't do that thing, but you don't need much not cooked egg to cause a problem with the texture of the wine in your mouth interacting with the not cooked egg in the omelette. So it's an interesting one. I will go further, and I don't want to put anyone off their snacks, but saliva does very similar things with wine as egg whites do. So it can exacerbate that kind of feeling of the wine sticking to the sides of your mouth and getting kind of making your mouth feel dry. And then you need more water. That will help. So the egg, particularly the slightly undercooked egg in the middle of the omelette, can have an effect on the wine in your mouth. But as Jeremy said, perhaps you just need to cook your omelette a little bit more, and then your protein problem is solved. Peter and Karen want to know, Jeremy, how the not cooked thing works with rare steak, and I think that steak possibly is different from eggs. But I don't know. Maybe Jeremy can type us a clever winemakerly answer. Cuddy's asking, aren't some wines fine with egg whites, which is where I was trying to get to. Yes. So some wines are fine with egg whites, and what they will do is take the raw egg whites, froth them up. So beat them up into a froth, like a on the way to a meringue, and then you'll put it on top of the wine, and it sinks down through the wine, and it drags out some of the solids and some of the tannins, and will soften the wine out. And that's exactly what your uncooked egg, if you've got uncooked egg in the middle of your omelette, that's what that's doing in your mouth. It's kind of just making the tannins kind of solidify a little bit more and stick to the side of your mouth, which just maybe makes your mouth a little bit dry, maybe makes things taste a bit different. So the chemistry of wine is really interesting. And I think it's really interesting that when I was talking about how I often have a problem with eggs with wine, for me, it's the fat in the yolk, the undercooked yolk, that is the problem for me, because it gets on the glass and then it gets in the way of the aromas and flavors of the wine. Whereas for Jeremy, it's the white of the egg that's undercooked that plays around with the texture of the wine in his mouth. So it's really funny how different people have different things. I would go so far with the egg yolk thing that I don't like my wine glasses to be, and I think I've spoken to you guys about this before, so I'm sorry for repeating myself, but I don't like my wine glasses to be in the dishwasher with plates and knives and forks that I've used for poached eggs in the morning, because just a little bit of egg yolk on the plate or on the knife and fork will get into all of the water of the dishwasher, and it will make all of your wine glasses and water glasses smell eggy. And it's a thing that I'm really sensitive to and I hate. But if you ever have a wine glass out of the dishwasher and it smells a bit weird, It could be because of egg yolk on a knife or a fork or a plate that you've had for breakfast that's got into the water and therefore got onto the glass, and it just taints it enough to make the wine smell a bit funny. It's very easy. Okay, that explains why I've had flecks on my wine glasses. I have eggs for breakfast most days. It's usually not visible, but it's usually something that you can smell. But, you know, it depends how much egg you put in the dishwasher, okay, with your wine glasses. There is a very simple solution to this problem. If you get your wine glass and you take the wine, you put a little bit of wine in there. If your wine glass is a bit stinky and you put your nose in and it smells a bit eggy, then if you get the wine all the way to the edge of the glass and you just coat the inside of the glass with the wine, then that will wash that eggy smell away, and you might have to throw out a mouthful of wine or just drink it and sacrifice it. But you're next. As long as you don't have egg yolk from your lips on the edge of the glass, and as I say, I've worn red lipstick so that I can see where my lips have been and wipe it off. Then the next glass of wine and the rest of the wine should be fine. But if in doubt and the wine smells a bit funny, try another glass that hasn't been Jeff, you've just ordered another dishwasher for wine glasses only. I wouldn't put it past you, actually. I'm not sure if you're joking or not. I think that's pretty funny. Noreen, we prefer breakfast champagne with your eggs. Yeah, champagne's great with eggs. Fantastic. Kay, you're saying you get lots of egg in your dishwasher. That sounds good. What you actually need is one of those two dish drawers, and you do your glasses in one drawer and your eggy plates in the other drawer, and then you're fine. Or rinse your plates and your knives and forks before you put them in the dishwasher, just with a little bit of soap and one of those little kind of soapy brushes. Then you can then you'll be absolutely sorted as well. Or just don't be as fussy as me, and then you'll be okay. So, how are people enjoying the wine on its own without the eggy bits? I think it's looking rather lovely. It's opening up really nicely. I think Shell was talking about her eggs bringing out the clove spice in the wine, and I do think this wine's got some really lovely spiciness. The red fruit's gorgeous. Cloves. There's some cinnamon. There's a little bit of Chinese 5 spice in there. It's really lovely, and I think that the flavors of the Oeuf en Mourette sauce with the onion and the garlic and the sauce that I made was the most simple one: onion, garlic, Pinot Noir, beef stock, some thyme, a bit of parsley stalk, and half a bay leaf in there. Cooked it all together, and that lovely spiciness from the herbs and the little bit of salt and pepper in there, just really simple, worked really well, I think, with the wine. What did you think, Jill and Richard? Did you like the Oeuf en Mourette with the wine or not?
I liked it a lot.
Yep.
It worked very well with the wine.
So Richard liked the dish a lot, but he didn't think it worked very well with the wine. Jill?
It surprised me at how good it was. If I hadn't had to look at the egg and it would have been.
Jill said it surprised her how good it was. You didn't like the omelette with the wine. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. So Jill and I, because I pre-poached the eggs, which Jill doesn't approve of, but I had to because I couldn't have been cooking the eggs at the same time as I was talking to you. And all of my chefs have abandoned me. The egg that was poached in the wine looks quite obscene when it was sitting there in its little bowl waiting to be reheated. Once you put the lovely sauce over the top, it looked lovely, but the egg did look quite disgusting, didn't it? It was sort of blue and looked a bit like an organ rather than egg. It didn't look beautiful. But the Jackie, your egg, mushroom, leek, bacon flavors are going well. I'm so pleased. I think bacon with egg also helps to bring out and I think if that with the omelette, maybe if you had a little bit of mushroom in an omelette or just a little bit of bacon that you'd fried off and just kind of crumbled through the middle of the omelette, that might actually work better with the Pinot than the omelette just on its own. Dad's looking very unhappy about that idea, but every now and again you've got to kind of go off the beaten path and go a bit crazy. But I think that's right, Kay. The sauce is the key. Craig, Vineyard Make Up the Wine. Thank you for bringing me back to missing the wine glasses in the dishwasher. Yes, Cotty, you need to have a dishwasher that can cope with wine glasses. Or wash all your glasses the next day. They're my 2 rules. So, Craig, Vineyard Make Up of this wine. This has Pinot Noir from the McIntyre Vineyard, from the Garden Vineyard, from the Robinson Vineyard, and from Duns Creek. So 4 vineyards. Duns Creek's a little bit further south than the other 3. The other 3 are all within 5 kilometres of here. Obviously, here is here. But I think Duns Creek probably brings in a little bit more of that red lift to the wine, but we really like the combination. Kay, the sauce is the key. Craig, we agree, Kay, really needs to be emulsified with the butter. The last bits of vinegary sauce don't work. The butter, I think, Craig and Kay, was absolutely essential to that sauce. If the sauce was too vinegary, more butter will make it much better, both on its own and with the wine. Jeremy, thank you. Vineyards heavy on Robinson, some lovely garden parcel, a tiny bit of McIntyre, and Duns Creek MV6. Thank you, Jeremy. The Robinson's sort of the hero in the 2021 Estate Pinot, but the combination of the 4 vineyards, I think, gives us that extra level of complexity and layers in the wine, which is really lovely. I think as well, I think I've come to the conclusion that while I didn't hate the œuf au mouret, in fact, I liked it a lot. It was quite a delicious dish. I like the Pinot better on its own. And the omelette's lovely, but I like the Pinot better on its own still. And I think the Pinot on its own is just gorgeous. So I'm not sure what conclusion we can, well, I think I do know what conclusion we can draw on this. I probably won't when I go, hello, Michael, lovely to see you. You've just missed all the talk about eggs and fat and protein and tating the glass and all those things. But it's okay. I think what I've learned is that when I go back to Burgundy, I won't order œuf au mouret from the menu. I will have something else to eat with my Pinot Noir. And the Pinot on its own is so delicious that, but if we put that with a lovely, I'm thinking about sitting in a restaurant in Burgundy, and I'm thinking maybe a nice piece of duck terrine would be rather good with this. Anything duck, but duck terrine is what's really kind of like calling to me at the moment. So one of these days we'll have to come back to this Pinot Noir and match it to duck terrine, and we can all kind of swoon over the deliciousness of terrine. That sort of lovely combination of meat and spices and all of those things with some crusty bread. So we might come back and revisit this with terrine later on in the year. But the Pinot is a meal in itself, Cotty, really delicious as it is. And it's funny, the egg has made my tongue feel funny. The egg with the wine. And that's okay, because most of the time people are not going to. Here's Richard. Richard's come to say something.
I just thought I might mention that there is a very lovely restaurant, what was some years ago, in Pouligny-Montrachet, which has a white wine version of this, together with Chardonnay. That might be something to attract to try, maybe compare.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, well, we might have to do some more research. So thank you for that.
And I still like the Elizabeth David
omelette and a glass of wine.
And
okay.
Usually Pinot Noir.
Cool. Excellent. Excellent. Jill doesn't. That was something that you always used to, though, Jill. No, she doesn't. She pretended she doesn't like it. I think that's right. And I think that's Jill's point is very important because I often, usually for me, it's when I do a wine dinner with a restaurant that wants to do a dessert and they say, do you do a dessert wine? I say, no, we don't do a dessert wine. And so then they try and do a dessert to match to our Pinot Noir or to our Pinot Gris. And I can tell you for sure it never works. And I do try and gently say to them, I think if you want to match something to our wine, you're better to have a cheese course and maybe have the dessert without our wine or bring in a wine from somewhere else. And they're like, no, our chef's really talented and really amazing. And they'll be able to do a really good dessert that'll work with your Pinot because it'll bring out all the red fruit and blah. Never does. But it's okay because then you can just eat the dessert and then come back to the Pinot. It's never going to be wasted. Even if the dish doesn't go with the wine, you can eat the food and then come back to the wine and enjoy them separately and have your little glass of water in between if you need a little rinse in between the food and the wine. And it works perfectly. Craig, a cheese souffle is beautiful with our Gris. That would be the ultimate annoying thing for me to suggest that you guys make for Drinks with Kate is we'll make a cheese souffle and we'll have that with the Pinot Gris. It needs to be straight out of the oven, nice and fluffy. Your raspberry souffle would be lovely, Kay, but I wouldn't waste it on trying to match it to the Pinot Noir. That's my feeling. But if you want to have a go, do. And if you want to prove me wrong, I look forward to it. I think that would be amazing. Shell, you've been watching the Parisian agency warming up to a trip to France. Well, Penny and I have had a couple of meetings about Sicily. So we're working out what's going to be possible and how we can put things together and how much it's going to cost and all of those things. So hopefully in the next few weeks, I'll have some news on that. So Sicily, it looks like Sicily's kind of locked in if we can make it work for next year. But I think a trip to France also would be a very good idea. And if we do Sicily next year, then maybe, well, let's see how expensive it is first because we might need a couple of years to save up in between trips. But maybe we go to France the following year or 2 years later, something like that. Let's see how we travel together as well. We might all hate each other by the end of a trip to Sicily. That would be very sad. And I don't think it'll happen. I think we're all good, but shall the real estate or the agents? Karen likes the agents. Lyon in August for you, Paul and Roz. That'll be lovely. So is the Parisian agency, is that about real estate agents, is it? Or I'll have to check it out. Netflix. Okay, Shell, I'll check it out. I haven't seen it. A couple of years ago, Emily in Paris got me wanting to go back to France. So it doesn't take much for me. I can watch really trashy stuff and want to go back to France. So very, very easy. Paul and Roz, you'll have a wonderful time in Lyon. I presume you've been there before, but if you haven't and you need some recommendations, let me know. Okay. Any of the real estate shows, fresh and wholesome. Lovely. Excellent. So, guys, there's travel opportunities in Emily in Paris is a hoot. It's ridiculously silly. And we need a bit of silliness in our lives from time to time. So we have travel things to talk about in the next few weeks. Peter and I are seriously on the way with our suggestions for merch. No Pinot Noir in Sicily, that's right, Michael, and beautiful whites, Nero d'Avola, and also so Syracuse would be is one of the places that we want to go to in Sicily, and around Etna for a bit of Nerello Mascalese. And just some delicious food and some lovely wine. And we're also going to try and go and visit. Oh, come on, brain. Masala country, so over to the west. So there's plenty. There's plenty. I think Penny and I are still working on the Sicily program, and I think I've hopefully given her enough information to understand what I'm trying to achieve from it. She's got some really good ideas. So Jackie, merch. Peter and I are talking about getting a design together that will probably be. Am I allowed to tell people, Peter? Peter's not even on. He's gone. He's driving, gone home. So the concept, and it's still in the workings. We're going to rework the Drinks with Kate duck, and there could be some gold foil involved, and there could be a black t-shirt, wind cheater, hoodie involved. I think that's the sort of vibe that we're thinking about. If people want a hat, I'm thinking maybe a beanie, also black. But yeah, I think we're going black and gold this year just for a bit of bling. Excellent, Shell. Craig, we can always go to orange or Canberra as in-betweeners. Absolutely, we do. We would need beanies for both. Absolutely. I think that we should definitely do a couple of Paul and Rosa bag as well. Yes, absolutely. We will make a very good-looking dance troupe. If we can get the design right, Jeff and Sue, we can then print it onto a hoodie or a t-shirt or a wind cheater. So we're working on the design, we're working on the colour combos, and we will, Peter, if you're listening, we need to get on with it and get some things in the mix. Woo, yeah. And a black beanie with maybe a gold duck on it. That would be quite nice, I think. I think that would be rather lovely. Very special. So, team, so Catania, Paul and Roz are saying, yes, excellent. It will be summer soon. I know, Alison. That's why I'm saying t-shirt. If you want a t-shirt, we can do a t-shirt. We can do a hoodie. We can do a wind cheater. We're not going to do the full tracksuit again because that was for lockdown only. And if you weren't there, then and you didn't live it, then we'll move on with it. Nobody laughs at you in your red tracksuit. Everyone thinks you look fabulous. And when we go on an aeroplane, Jill, I want you and Richard to both wear your red tracksuits. In fact, when we're all traveling together, everyone has to bring their tracksuits and wear them. Dad tells me I'm dreaming. Craig, look, I spoke to someone in Sydney who said it was so cold in Sydney again. It's bloody freezing down here. We've had like frost. It was 1 degree yesterday morning. It was 4 degrees this morning. So it's pretty cold everywhere, I think, but it's very, very, very wintry. So too hot in a plane for a tracksuit. It was 2 degrees this morning. You're right, Kay. Yeah, well, you need a tracksuit and then a T-shirt underneath to, take your hoodie off and just kind of lounge. But you're probably right, particularly if we're going in May, which is the plan for Sicily next year, is it's always cold down here. You're not used to it. Oh, I'm sorry, Craig. Put your tracksuit on. That's what it's for. Keep you warm. Thanks, Alison. Next week, I'm cutting you all off now. Next week, we're doing Robinson Chardonnay. I can't remember what vintage though. Is it 15, 16, 18, 12? There's a Robinson Chardonnay in the box, and I meant to look it up, but I was running late because I had to do my poached eggs, and then anyway, Robinson Chardonnay next week. I will send you an email on Monday, not Friday, on Monday with a recipe suggestion and a food matching suggestion. 12. Thank you, Paul and Roz. I knew someone would help me out there. Robinson Chardonnay next week. It's going to be awesome. And then the following week, we're doing Menthea from our friends at Ministry of Clouds. So that'll be ace. And then I need to work out another box because we're nearly at the end of box 3. Anywho, take care, everyone. Stay warm. Take care. Pleasure, Shell. Oh, that's so nice. Travelling wine glasses for when you stay in hotels with Aussie glasses. Yes, Cotty, we need to do that. Balmy 5 degrees in Sydney this morning. Yes, Noreen, what are you doing? What are you doing in Sydney at the moment? Thank you, Michael. Cheers, everyone. It's been awesome. Enjoy the rest of your Pinot. I think we've busted some egg and Pinot Noir myths tonight. We may never have omelette and Pinot Noir together again. Some people might. Richard's going to. Earth on Moret, is it worth making again? Who knows? Anyway, in the meantime, cheers, everyone. We'll have something a bit more hopefully deliciously friendly with each other next week, next Thursday on Drinks with Kate with Robinson Chardonnay 2012. It's going to be ace. I'll see you all then, and love you.